Howdy folks, if you've been with me since last week, I moved the big machine into a little 8x8 room. We're in that room right now. It's tight in here. It's real tight. In fact, I had to put the machine, as you can see back there, I had to put it sideways because it wouldn't even fit in here. I put a big table in here with it to try that out. That didn't work, so I took the table out, turned the machine sideways, and I was, hey, well, I guess we're going to run with that for the time being until we can figure something better out. But it was all about temperature. We were having some cold snaps, and the garage is a nightmare for trying to keep cold air away from a 3D printer, especially when it drops down below freezing and the doors opening and closing all day long right by where the 3D printers are running. It's like, yeah, this is not working. Anyways, since I got it in here, immediately ran into another problem. I had to go through my auto leveling and setting everything up, just checking to make sure that everything's the way it should be. And what happened next was I had trouble sticking to the bed because there was a lot of rags and stuff used back and forth while I was moving it. So obviously I got the bed really filthy while I was moving stuff around. So I cleaned the bed with isotope alcohol, which I usually do, and that didn't work at all. In fact, it had no effect on it. So I scrubbed the bed with a wire brush, brass wire brush, and a little bit of alcohol again. Still didn't work. Went to Dawn soap, dishwashing soap, and that didn't work. And right now, this bed is so sticky, it's nuts. It's actually almost too sticky now. But what did I use? I'm going to tell you what I used, but I want you to stay tuned because I want you to check the warning side of this out because we could get ourselves in trouble down the road somewhere. So I'm going to tell you what I used. It's a really dirt cheap product, but it worked so amazing that it was like, whoa, we've almost stumbled onto something I didn't know about with 3D printing, is how to make a bed sticky, especially an old PEI sheet like this one. This one's been through the war in the past year. Thousands and thousands of prints have come off that thing, and it's at the point now where it's just wore out, I thought, but I've got it sticky. It's acting like a brand new PEI sheet again. In fact, it's almost like that. If you've ever seen that new Cool sheets they're selling, I think it's Bisque or something, sells a new sheet that's cool. It's very similar to that idea, But what I did was I went over to Dollar General years ago and I bought this stuff called, and here's the bottle, but the label's virtually cleaned off even. It's a good cleaner. It's based on some kind of a butane thing or something chemical. But anyways, it can be hard on plastic, so that's really what I wanted to tell you about. Be careful about using this stuff. I have bought it and I've had some fantastic results with it, and I've also had some really oops, we're melting the plastic or something, or we're causing problems. And it's sold under the brand name Awesome. It's like $1 a gallon, so I just keep it around the shop for little spills and cleaning up basic stuff. But I did the bed with it, and immediately the bed was all nice and real tacky kind of thing. So I ran some prints off and it was like everything is sticking. Hey, sorry about the camera angles and sound and whatever in there. The room is only 8x8, and to get a camera in there with me seems to be impossible. So I just shot that with an old Canon that I have laying around. But normally this is my proper camera. But this camera we're using right now will not. It just won't go in that room. There's just no way to film in there with it unless I leave the door wide open. And again, like I said, it's cold today. I don't want that cold air in there affecting the machine or the print, because it is a production print that I'm running in there right now, even that needs to be shipped out probably later today. Back to the Awesome cleaner. It's like $1 a bottle for a little spray bottle, and that's probably all you should buy. You don't need a gallon bottle. I will show you the gallon jug anyway. I think it's about $6.50 or something. A gallon like that will last you obviously a very long time. I use it for general cleaning around the workshop mostly. Oil spills, grease, anything like that. Anything, gets a little sticky, nasty, whatever, I'll just use that and clean it up. The fact that I use it on the PEI sheet was really weird. It was just kind of I've tried everything else, why not? We'll hit it with this Awesome. Now, let's talk about procedure for a second because, as I said earlier, there's some things you need to know about. And one of the things with Awesome is it's best if you spray the sheet down and let it sit on there for a little bit, a minute or whatever. Don't just immediately wipe it. Let it sit and soak in a little bit. Maybe like say half a minute to a minute or something like that. And then take your Microsoft towel and scrub real good, because you're trying to get basically all of that off of there once you're done. Now at that point, that's what I did. That was my procedure.
I have found that's the way it works for most cleaning in general anyways. It did remove some labels and stuff and wipe entire prints of labels right off of things. So I say you have to be aware of what you're going to be spraying and what, you know, keep an eye on things, because it does come in a plastic bottle, so it should, like, it shouldn't affect plastic, but it seems to affect certain paints or certain things. So you have to be kind of watchful, because you might run into something. I wouldn't clean my camera with it, for example. You know, bad idea. Now, along all that, what else was going on this past week? I changed to a hardened steel nozzle, had problems with it. Took the hardened steel nozzle back out, went back to the brass nozzle. Now, which led me to another question. When should you change a nozzle on a 3D printer? Technically, even a brass nozzle, depending on what you're running. If you're running like PLA, PLA Plus, PetG, that nozzle should last an unbelievable amount of time, probably years upon years of prints. And in fact, my CR10, which would be more than 10 years ago, it never got a new brass nozzle in it. There was never any reason to change the nozzle, and it ran, again, thousands of prints. It wasn't a production machine ever. I don't think I ever used it as a production machine for selling on the internet or anything like that with parts. So the idea of changing the nozzle to me is really, unless you have a problem like a clog or something, I don't see any reason to change nozzles. Now, this machine came in from Anycubic. It was pre-owned, that sort of thing, and God knows what was run through it. So it has started to really mess up in the last week or so, started doing some really weird things with the first layer and stuff. So one of the things I did was I went ahead and changed the nozzle twice before we hit a brass nozzle that I could live with, because when you change a nozzle, even if you don't have the right amount of pressure and put it back in just pretty much at the same level and height and everything as what it was, your Z offset is now, you know, it's out there, it's in the wind, and you don't know whether you need to raise or lower the settings at that point until you start running something. Unfortunately, Anycubic, I will say that their software seems to be okay, but you can't do the old paper trick or something to gauge the nozzle and see where it's at. It doesn't seem to come with that option. It actually wants you to offset on the fly. In other words, running a print, and then you go, oh, it's too low, or oh, it's too high, and then you can dial in and bring it down or take it up. I'm not real fussy on that deal, but it was like, if this is one of the problems that the machine has, overall, it's like, it's okay. I can live with it. It's okay. You know, I can adjust the Z on the fly, but it will probably mean that print that I'm making right this minute is wrong, is going to end up coming off the bed early, stop the print, throw it out, you know, start over again or something if worse comes to worse, which that's exactly what happens. Now, PetG was what I was trying to work with when all the shenanigans showed up with the cold snap in here. This is the garage, obviously. And so I got the machine in the small 8x8 room, which is a bummer for filming, because you know, obviously the camera won't go in there. So I had to use a little handheld job, and I don't like this, but let's do it. The message was clear. I just wanted to tell you about the awesome. And then the other thing this week that I ran into, and maybe we'll get some feedback on it, but it seems like, to me, not all PetG is the same. Maybe the formula is a little different or something going on, because I'm finding certain brand names work great on the machine, and other certain brand names are just 100% failure. I even took this one specific one I'm thinking of, and I put it through a dryer for like 10 hours, trying to see if that was the problem. In fact, I used the Creality dryer right here and ran 10 hours on it, and then put it back on, and it still had the same issues. Just everything from coming out lumpy, not sticking to the bed. The parts weren't, the layers weren't even consistent. I was getting all kinds of anomalies and stuff in it. And it all sort of like points back towards moisture, so I threw it back in the dryer, dried it again. I think I ran another 4 to 6 hours or whatever on the dryer. Just ran the dryer, just dry this darn stuff. So let's see if that's what the problem is. And again, as long as I've been buying that particular brand name and a couple other brand names, of the cheap PetGs off of Amazon, I've had problems and printing issues and anomalies showing up and things. So I'll tell you the name that I get so far I have had 100% success with. Just, you know, you might want to try a roll yourself, is King Rune. King Rune PetG, I can put that on the machine. It runs brilliant. I don't have any problems, no anomalies. It sticks to the plate. I don't get warping, nothing strange going on. And same model, same default settings, you know, and printing perfect. So it points back to the somewhere in that manufacturing line, and that's where I question the actual amount of material being used to create the PetG back at the factory. You know, are they screwing with something? Because not all PetG seems to be the same until you start running it, and then you find out, oh, this is a good spool, that's a bad spool. In fact, today I'll tell you I'm trying my first roll of PetG from Polymaker. Usually I buy certain things from Polymaker, and I thought, you know, we need to go back a little bit and look at their PetG, which I did, and I thought we'll just order a generic PetG from Polymaker and throw it on the machine and just see how it does. And from what I can see, from what I'm looking at, it's running pretty good. I'd say it's running about 95%, you know, in the good. I'm seeing a little bit of, you know, ticks here and there, which means that maybe I should have dried it before I threw it on the machine or something. But other than that, it looks like it's great. Now, the other brand names, I can go through a bunch of them, but I've got quite a few, and they're all the low priced sort of end on Amazon, which maybe that sort of tells you a little bit right there. You know, the cheap stuff, don't buy it or something. King Rune was, I think it was around $15 a spool, so again, it wasn't high or something. But I noticed way back years ago when running King Rune PetG that I didn't have any issues. In fact, it gave good little models and everything, and detail was fine. And so I went back and bought a spool. Ran perfect. So I bought another spool, and again, it was perfect. And then just this past few weeks with having problems trying to run PetG for product, I switched back to King Rune, and it ran perfect. No changes in the modeling, no changes. You know, everything was just still the same default settings that had screwed up the last model, and the King Rune PetG ran perfect. So I've got to say something out there. Hats off to Pet, you know, for King Rune. I'll put a link in the description below where you can find King Rune, I guess at Amazon, an affiliated link. Of course, you know, it's YouTube, you know. But let me know too if you have ever, what you use to clean your PEI sheet with, and does it work or is it better? And if you get a chance to try this awesome from Dollar General, give it a shot. That PEI sheet right now is working like it was not only it's actually working better than I've ever seen it working for sticking, you know, for everything to stick to it and stay with it. Now, I will admit at the other end, when you finish the model, I do seem to be having a little more difficulty getting the model off that PEI sheet. Now it's sticking too good. Yeah. But, you know, the sticking really well, I can live with it. You know, yeah, you know, I can live with that. That's fantastic, I think. But anyways, that's just a quick update this week. This is what, Monday? Maybe before this week is out, maybe we'll come back and do another one, because I was going to update you on the building, the concrete pad, the 68 Camaro coming in. I ordered a car tent temporarily. We're going to try that out. I guess we'll review it once it gets here. I bought it out of my own money, so there's no reason why I can't beat on it and say, you know, tell you what I think of it, good or bad. Meantime, thank you for watching Coffee and Tools, and please like, share, subscribe, ring the notice bell, get more stuff going on, and over and out.